Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard brought to you by our sponsor, The Great Game of Business. I'm Lauren Feldman. I'm here with Gene Marks. Welcome back, Gene.
Hello, Lauren.
Great to have you here. Gene, you wrote recently in reaction to an article in Business Insider that was about the HR software called Workday. The article was headlined, "Everyone Hates Workday," and it was dripping with anger and frustration and sarcasm. It referred to using Workday as torture, but you came to Workday's defense, and I think for interesting reasons. Tell us why.
Yeah, my editor asked me to write this piece. I hadn't seen the original piece in the Business Insider, and you're right. It was like, why everybody hates Workday. And I read this piece, and I emailed my editor back saying, "Thank you so much for asking me to write something about this." Because it was just a bunch of whiners and complainers about, Workday. Oh, it's not perfect. I have to do this in it. I have to do that in it. It's not intuitive, and all this. And I simply hate it. And I can't tell you in the 20 years I have been in this business how often I hear that about the softwares that I sell, and even the softwares that we come up against, where people complain about the software, and I just wanted a chance to say that, in 9 cases out of 10, it's the company's fault. It's not the software's fault. It's just not. You're blaming the software, and it's just because it's your fault. You don't take the right responsibility. You didn't get it set up right. You're not using it. There was times we used to sell this product called Goldmine, which, Lauren, for anybody that's over the age of 110 probably remembers it. And Goldmine had this one.
It's CRM, and I think I know some owners who do use it, and they're not quite 110.
Yeah, it's still around. And one of the features of Goldmine, which a lot of companies don't know, is that it tracks like key clicks, the number of key clicks that users are making. You know what I mean?
Really? Why?
And I can't tell you how many times, this is like 10 years ago or whatever, I would be going into like a kind, they'd be complaining, "Oh, we hate Goldmine, it sucks," whatever. And I would say, it's okay, let me take a look at something. I go and I look at the key clicks, and there's like 10 key clicks in the past month, and I'm like, dude, you're not even using this software and you hate it. Do you know what I mean? It's always the software's fault. And it's usually not. Today, I'm not going to sit here and say Workday is the greatest software in the world. None of them are. They're all just, you're not going to get 100% perfect software. But trust me when I tell you, 2024, the software industry has been around long enough. This is HR software and productivity and collaboration software. They've been around long enough to get their act together. When I tell these people that say I hate Workday, I'd love to take a look at their Workday system. Number one, I'd like to see how it's been configured. I'd like to see how they're using it. I'd like to see how much they actually paid for training on it. I'd like to see who they used to get it set up the right way. I'd like to see if they're investing in internal administrators, people that are expert with it, so that they can support their users. I'd like to see if their managers who are responsible for this system have a set of balls so that they can say to their, to the actual employees, "You don't like it? Well, we'll get you trained, but software is software, so shut up," because it takes that as well to do that. Managers, understanding what the systems are for, and the systems are for the companies, not necessarily the employees. All of these things. I mean, there's usually a whole bunch of different factors why the software isn't right. And the other thing I will say to you, Lauren, again, and I just learned this the hard way. I will go into somebody that's using ABC CRM system, and they'll be like, "Oh, we hate it, and we want to change our CRMs." And you would think, as a reseller of competing software, I'd be like, "Oh, goody, let's we'll replace it." But I always ask, like, "Well, what are you doing with it? How did you set it up? Who's responsible for it now? And have you talked to the software vendor and voiced your complaints? Have you paid for training on this software?" Because I'm like, I know it. I've learned it the hard way. You hate the software you have now, and you hate the vendor. Knowing you're going to buy my software, and within a year you're going to hate me and the software too, because it's you. Do you know what I'm saying?
I hear you. Road. And we have talked about this a little bit about CRM, and how most people who have a CRM make use of 12% of its capability or something along those lines.
Yeah.
But I have a couple of questions for you. One question, I'd never even heard of Workday. I've certainly never used it. I have used Rippling, which is, also an HR software platform. Right. I used it as an employee, and I thought it was fantastic. I mean, the ability to just go in and sign up for everything in one place, one platform, and not have to fill out all the papers you used to have to do back in the dark ages. I thought it was amazing, and it was completely intuitive.
Do you know why you thought it was like this? I guarantee, I bet you were an awesome employee. I bet your bosses loved you. You came to work on time.
And why did they keep firing me, Gene?
Yeah, well, that's because you picked the wrong industry. You were in journalism. But I bet you, your boss, you did none of this quiet quitting bullshit, none of this coffee, badging or whatever. And on top of that, whatever system they gave you, you're like, my name is Lauren Feldman. I'm going to get to know
No, that's not true. Believe me, I could give you plenty of other complaints. Rippling was really easy and intuitive to use. I don't know if there's any difference between it and Workday, but I think there is one difference between Workday and CRM, which I wanted to ask you about. And that's kind of the intended user. With CRM, you're talking about employees using the program. And if they're not trained, if they're not using it properly, clearly that's all on the company. One of the points that the Business Insider article made was that many of the people using Workday are job candidates, and that's why they hate it. And it made the article made the point that Workday doesn't really care because its clients are the businesses, and that the businesses seem to be okay with it. So I'm curious, a lot of the people who were quoted, being frustrated and everything, they were job candidates. Businesses have a vested interest in them having a good experience. They should want people to, feel like this is a good process because it reflects on the company that they're trying to get a job with. You can't train those people. Is it still the company's fault if they're having a bad experience?
Yeah, it is. And I'll tell you the reason why, because I know Workday pretty well. And by the way, I'm looking at Workday's site. I mean, they have PwC and Hewlett Packard and PF Chang's. And by the way, the Mongolian beef at PF Chang's, Warren, it is go-to. Delicious. Thomson Reuters, a bunch of others that use Workday. Okay. This is, this is a software that is very customizable, and it can be integrated in different ways. So it's there. If I'm like at HR at PF Chang's, for example, and again, the Mongolian beef, but if I'm the HR person at PF Chang's, I would be listening to the people, these job applicants that are coming, whatever. And if I'm hearing that they think it's a hard system to use or, whatever, I'd be changing the system. I mean, I'd be customizing it. I mean, PF Chang's has got their own portal in Workday. They can customize what the process is to apply for a job there. Trust me when I tell you, Workday will give you the tools to do that. I don't want to pick on any one company, but I guarantee you it's because the people at the company either, don't give a shit, or they're not given any resources to make those changes because maybe the bosses above them say we've got better things to spend our money on. But it's fixable. It's not, and I don't, listen, maybe I'll start getting some commission checks from Workday after hearing this interview, but I can assure you that these problems are not Workday's problems. It is the company that's using Workday. And it's that they are not investing in the training, the customization, the consultant that they need to make the system work the way it really should work.
Is that true for smaller businesses that employ it as well?
Yeah, every size business, that's also a really good point. If you and I were having this conversation, I don't know, 15 years ago, yeah, there was a lot more of a cost to customize these systems. They were a lot more rigid, particularly for smaller. I mean, Goldmine, you won't even want to know. I mean, you could have any screen as long as it was a black screen with 3 fields on it. But today's, even for small businesses, today's CRM systems and HR platforms, they're all cloud-based. They're all extremely customizable as well. It's just that, again, small businesses are no different than big businesses. They have to choose where they're going to spend their money. And, oftentimes my clients choose not to spend on things like customization on training because they're spending on stupid things like machinery and equipment for their plant to produce products for their customers,
That's a joke, right?
Yeah, it is a joke. But life is about choices. So they make those choices. And because of that, their software is not as good as it could be. And it could be much better.
Got it. All right. Next topic. You wrote another piece recently about how Sam's Club is using artificial intelligence to stop shoplifting. Tell us about that.
Yeah. I have a great story about this. Okay. So I'm not going to name names, but this was literally, I wrote this article last week. I got this email, this irritated email from Sam's Club's PR firm because they had an issue with the column that I wrote. The headline of the column says, Sam's Club is now successfully using AI to stop shoplifting. Okay.
Yeah.
She was upset. Okay. And I'm like, I don't understand why you're upset. The story is that, when you go to Sam's Club and Costco and these big box stores, you buy your stuff, and as you're walking out, you have to show the receipt to somebody standing there. Yep. And then the person does like a test, a check audit in some of the items and then waves you through. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
Why is that person doing that? Why are they doing that? Because, they want to say goodbye to you, or
check they want to make sure you didn't forget something, Gene. Yeah, they want to make sure you didn't leave it at the counter.
Exactly. Or to comment on your, oh, that's a great TV set. You're going to really, I would suggest setting it on this mode, right? Obviously not. They have that person standing there to make sure that people aren't stealing stuff, right? I mean, obviously. Okay. Well, okay. So Sam's Club, they're replacing these people. They did it in 120 stores. They're going to have it rolled out to all their stores by the end of the year, where they're replacing their people with AI scanners. Which I haven't actually done this, which I reported on it, so I should have done it. Where you walk out of Sam's Club and it literally is able to scan everything in your cart somehow. Maybe it's RFID tags or something, and compare it to your electronic receipt and like immediately know whether or not something doesn't jive. It does that automatically with AI, which is pretty awesome, right?
Yep.
And Sam's Club, their press release is that they're saving their customers' time, like something like 20-something% of their time is being saved leaving the store than it was before when somebody had to manually check it. And I think that's cool. I get that. But they're using AI to stop shoplifting. Am I wrong? Am I missing something? Because this PR person was like, no, you're getting it all wrong. We're using it to improve the customer experience and save time of the customer.
Because their club members would never shoplift. Is that the point he was trying to make?
You should see this exchange of emails. And by the way, she was a great PR person. I mean, she was really going to bat for her client. Do you know what I mean? But because she wanted me to change it. She said it's inaccurate. And I'm like, I'm not sure I understand what's inaccurate here. You're using AI to stop shoplifting. That's what you're doing, right? You know what I mean? Like that's, I realize it's making it faster for customers to get through, but that's what you're doing with this technology. Anyway, the whole, putting that story aside, we agreed to disagree. The point of the article, which she didn't really care about, was that AI in 2024, when people are asking, particularly smaller companies, right now it's a big company game, and I gave some examples. I mean, I referenced some articles, Xfinity now, you can literally connect into, you and I just pulled the plug on our cable systems, I realized, but if we were still customers, we can connect to our cable.
Xfinity is Comcast. Most people don't know that if they don't have Comcast.
They can literally connect, diagnose, and fix problems with a voice automated AI, system, what I mean, chat system. KFC, Taco Bell, Dairy Queen, I think they're owned by the same corporate giant or whatever, but they're using cameras in their outlets to listen in and watch employees and judge them to make sure that they are upselling stuff. Like you want fries with that, or extra sauce or whatever, and then paying them based on that. Police departments in major cities are now using these AI cameras to look at events and then automatically write up the reports. You watch every NYPD Blue back in the day, or even CSI Today, and it takes all these times to write up reports. Police are always grumbling, but now AI is going to be doing that for them. Walmart has autonomous forklifts. Bank of America has 2 billion client interactions with their AI tool. The reason why I'm saying all of these examples is because it's the big companies that are spending on AI right now. It ain't the small businesses. Small businesses are playing around with ChatGPT and, they're, a little bit of Microsoft Copilot and Google. This is all coming, and it's all going to be filtering down to us over the next couple of years. So we have to be patient. But the AI game right now is in the big corporate world. And did I tell you this story last time we spoke? Like I called up, I think it was at a Hilton, and I called up the front desk to ask like how late their restaurant was open. I had like a 2-minute conversation with a robot before I realized it wasn't a human, you know?
No, you did not tell me that.
Yeah, literally. And it was like this like sort of younger female voice. Oh, hello, Mr. Marks. I'm like, oh, hi, how late is this restaurant open? And she gave me the answer and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not late enough. Are there any other restaurants open later? And then she starts listing it off. And then I'm like listening close. I'm like, this is a robot.
Did you tell her she should try the Mongolian beef at PF Chang's?
They did not have a PF Chang's anywhere nearby, but that would have been an excellent suggestion because that Mongolian beef is to die for. Anyway, you're now getting me off topic, Lauren. The point of this whole conversation is that if you're running a small or mid-sized business and you want to invest in AI, right now at our level, it's the ChatGPTs and the Google Geminis and the Anthropics, fine for generative AI, Microsoft Copilot, Salesforce, and Google Workspace. There's little AI automations going on right now, which is great. But the AI money is being spent by the big corporations right now. And what Xfinity's doing, what the police department is doing, and Bank of America with these chat bots and whatever, that will all be, the Sam's Club example, they have a system of AI that can detect, trust me, within the next couple of years, there'll be a lot of smaller software vendors that will copy that system and then be able to resell it at lower prices to smaller retailers, but we have the big corporate giants that are ironing out those bugs right now in advance. That's where the money's being spent in 2024. And that was the point of the article.
Did I see that there's a new version of ChatGPT out? Is that something that...
Dude, yeah. Can I talk about that a little bit? So
Please.
It's not just ChatGPT, but it's also Google Project Astra. Both announcements happened last week. ChatGPT is 4.0 Omni. And let me tell you what it does. Did you ever see the movie Her with Scarlett Johansson and Joaquin Phoenix? Apparently there's like these developers and Sam Altman, they're like obsessed with the movie Her. Okay. It's not a Scarlett Johansson thing, although if it was, I would understand, but it's not.
It's her voice, right?
Yeah. It's just her voice. And it's, it's a guy who falls in love with an AI voice. This is like a 15-year-old movie or whatever. You know what I mean? 10-year-old movie. Anyway.
This didn't happen to you at the Hilton, did it?
It does this Omni version. You now talk to it and it talks right back to you. And then you talk to it and it talks right back to you and it converses. And it picks up your tone of voice if you're happy or you're sad. And it remembers you from last time. And it has like a little back and forth going on with you. So, for example, there's this really hilarious video that I'm showing at the North Carolina CPAs this week when I speak to them. This guy has like on his phone, he's got the ChatGPT, the new version, and it's looking at him and he's like, hey man, I've got a job interview this afternoon. How do I look? And ChatGPT is looking at him and saying, you don't look great. You should probably shave, Then he puts on like a hat.
Really?
And ChatGPT, that hat wouldn't be very good for you to use. That literally, that's the technology. It's like a back and forth thing. And Google is doing the same thing on its Project Astra. You take your phone now and it will recognize, Google Lens can recognize images and then search for them. Now its new version of AI recognizes what's around a laptop, a sofa, a cabinet, your office, and it can recognize what it is and describe it and talk to you about it. You can point it out the window and it's like, oh, I see you're in downtown Philadelphia or you're in Princeton, New Jersey or whatever. And it can give you background on it as well. It can do all that right now. It is Lauren, you and I will be in wheelchairs in a nursing home together 20 years from now wearing diapers. And we won't remember a lot, but we will remember the spring of 2024 because it is the birth of this, this conscious sentient AI. It's starting right now. And within the next few years, you will have machines that will recognize you and talk to you as if they are humans. It's already here. It's just, we'll get
sentient is a dangerous word. Do you really mean that? It thinks for itself?
It really will. And yes, it will think for itself. That is exactly what I mean. And I know people get freaked out and scared by it. And I realize everything in this world is, there's risks and rewards to everything. It doesn't freak me out. It excites me. And if it turns out that we're all living in the Matrix or it blows up the world like Terminator, so be it, we'll be dead. What's the difference?
These announcements came last week. Are these new services from Google and ChatGPT available right now? Have you used them?
Yes and no. No, I use the ChatGPT one on their browser, but it's not yet available on the mobile device. They're rolling it out. The Google stuff is called Project Astra, not available yet. That's where you take your phone and it recognizes stuff around you. It's coming. It's just, they're just showing to the world. They're making tools available for developers to start developing applications based on that code set. But for, the common public, now we're still just dealing with Gemini. The other thing that Google announced, which was big, was that they are changing search in a very concerning way, Lauren. Like if you go and you search for something like, what's the best food to eat in New Orleans, it will, instead of giving you links to articles of best food in New Orleans, it will instead search the web and then tell you what the best food to eat in New Orleans is. You get me? That's how Google search is going. And then it will list the links way down below in the page. And that's a little scary.
Have you used Perplexity?
I have not used it I played with it like on the demo version, but it does the same, very similar stuff, right?
I don't think it buries the links. I think it's more upfront about where the information comes from.
Yeah, Google's not necessarily going to bury the links. They will still be accessible, but for most people, they're just going to go with the answer. And it is a little scary because Google's AI is going to be looking at all this information and then answering questions as if it knows the answer. And a lot of news organizations are freaking out, because if you search for, I don't know, hurricane in Houston or, tornado in Houston or something, now you get a bunch of news stories about it. Where Google is going is it's just going to give you one news story that's made up of a bunch of others. So instead of clicking on the story and going to the publisher's site, which they get clicks for that, now suddenly you're just reading it on the search page and, on Google search. And it is freaking out the news industry as well, justifiably so.
Right, exactly. But before we leave this topic, I just want to make one thing clear. I don't want to get any angry emails this week. So I want to be clear. No one has ever shoplifted from a Sam's Club. Okay? Are we clear?
I'm glad you said that. That is exactly right. The system that they put in is only to improve customer experience. That's exactly right. Glad you got it.
Wanted to make that clear. Gene, what are you working on? Anything we should look for this week?
Yeah, I'm writing, right now, I'm going to write a piece for Entrepreneur about taxes and getting audited, just a little bit of a help piece. And, Forbes, I'm going to be writing on some of the developments, more details about the ChatGPT and Google releases and how they're going to impact small businesses. So you can look for that later on this week.
I will very much look forward to that. Gene Marks is a CPA who writes weekly on small business for The Guardian, The Hill, The Philadelphia Inquirer, The Washington Times, The Chicago Daily Herald, Forbes, and Entrepreneur. You can also hear him on ABC Radio's Eye on the World with John Batchelor. Gene hosts 2 small business podcasts with Paychex Corporation and The Hartford. This episode was brought to you by The Great Game of Business, which helps businesses use an open book management system to help build healthier companies. You can learn more at greatgame.com. Thank you, Gene.
Thank you, Lauren. See you next week.
Have a great week, everybody.